Where do we go from here? Did you ever imagine that the naira is going to sell to the dollar at about 1,500? Did you ever imagine that cement is going to sell up to 10,000 naira in some part of Nigeria? Did you ever imagine that noodles is going to sell for what is sold today, tomatoes, sardine, and the rest of all of these essential commodities? A bag of rice has gone into a state that one will ever imagine in our lifetime.
Certainly, a lot of the things that we are seeing today are not conceivable a few years back. Yes, we know that the country was going down the drain, and we could see a lot of the problems.
So we could see that this was going to happen years back?
No, not as bad as it is at the moment. Sadly, the speed with which it has happened and the depth of the problems that we have found ourselves are not things that we had anticipated. Yes, we could see the problem. I remember as far back as 2007, well, actually 2005, 2007, there were signs. And I remember then I was the member of the PDP in the House of Representatives, and I did draw the attention of the chairman of our party, Chief Audobe then, that things are likely to get worse if policies do not change. And I specifically drew his attention to a book written by Robert Kaplan with the title, The Coming Anarchy. I did a review article of that, about 15 pages, which I also made available to him and I shared to some of our colleagues. And in that review article, I was myself shocked reading it nearly 15, 16, 17 years after. It is speaking to the issues that we are actually witnessing today. It's just like when the last regime took over in 2015, by 2016, it was clear that it did not have the capacity to deliver. But even then, we never expected that they would, do the level of pillage and, basically looting of the treasury, as it's becoming very clear at the moment. Similarly, we had expected that when this leadership, or when the new government took over from Tinubu, we were expecting that he has around him expertise. And we were expecting that for him to have announced the removal of subsidy, he must have done a plan, something that will address the consequences of that. You don't take a policy without make a policy without looking at the consequences and preparing to cushion the effect of that. But apparently he did that without any preparation. And so what is happening at the moment is something that has been anticipated, but like I said, the extent to which it has come is something that is baffling. And I still think those in government, talking to them, they don't seem to even understand this reality. They seem to think that is somebody somewhere manipulating something.
So you think there is a disconnect?
I think so. Because you see,
from people around the president.
Yeah, if you want to know what is happening, talk to the to the pastors and to the imams, because that's where poor people run to. They have easy access to these people, and they go to them normally, because when you are in this big trouble, you look for God, right? You sort of surrender more, because you have come to the end of your wits. You have nothing more to. And from these people, we have information that people are actually, some of them are eating dead meat. There are people who are feeding their families with dead meat because they have nothing.
Nigerians are pushed to the wall.
Exactly.
They've come to the wit end.
Exactly. So if they knew what is happening, they wouldn't be doing the kind of terrible
thing. Are you disappointed? Because you mentioned President Bola Tinubu is someone you know very well. You perhaps at some point worked closely with him. Are you surprised at the outcome or the performance of his government in the last 8 months?
I have said it, Sean, I'm extremely disappointed. I used to know him to be someone who is always reading, is always engaging, but I've not seen that at all. And I can see a lot of sycophants around him. People are not engaging him. They're not telling him the truth. And he seems to be very comfortable with the kind of people that he has around them that don't seem to have any ideas in their head. They don't seem to have any solution to the problems that we have. And they're always trying to find excuses. I understand one of the ministers was even saying that things are improving. How can they be improving when people are in the mess they are at the moment? How can they be improving when the insecurity has reached that level where even Abuja, the capital, is not safe? How can things be improving? And they are, when they come to the solutions, they are repeating what has been done 40 years ago without any success. They are looking at controlling prices. How can you control the prices of things that you don't have? I mean, Buhari in his military era, tried doing that, opening stores and giving, but that didn't solve the problem. And we're talking about palliatives. Government has demonstrated very clearly that they are the worst handlers of palliative. They have never done this thing very well. From the COVID time to date, we have seen how much scandals are now. So, it's not something that
Buhari came into power. There are a lot of expectation because Nigerians thought, this is a military general who will understand the sound of the guns and how to silence it and how to deal with the insurgency in the country. And he said that he will quench it. Now, this is Bola Tinubu, the Nigeria's president, who is seen as an accomplished accountant, a tax man who understands the figures and perhaps knows just how well to deal with economic issues. And that's why I asked you whether or not you were disappointed.
Well, today,
do you think he has the capacity to be able to turn things around?
Today is everybody's knowledge that Bola Tinubu has no solution to the problems of this country.
Really?
If anything, well, let's see it. Let's see it if he has. I mean, the last 6 months or so, this government has been fumbling and tumbling. We have not seen any solution, not to the security situation, not to the food situation, not to the issue of jobs, even investments where they claim to. Look at the value of the naira. These, experts that he has brought to handle the central bank, you can see they are fumbling. The value of the naira is constant. We never expected that it would get this bad.
But there are those who will say, look, there are some political manipulation. There are the fifth columnist. There are those who are trying to play around this issue.
We have had this regime after regime. If you cannot handle this, why did you even come in the first place? No excuses. You applied for this job. You should know that there will be fifth columnists. You should know that there are people who will sabotage you. What are the police doing? What are the SSS doing? What are all the instruments of coercion that we have within government are they doing? What are you doing?
Would it be fair to refer to the Tinubu government as failing after just 8 months in office?
It's very clear. You don't need any analysis. It has failed to address the most essential
issues. It's not even spent up to 1 year in office.
Yeah, but you can see clearly. And if you go back to the Constitution, the very purpose of government is the welfare and security of the people. Where is the welfare? Where is the security? Where is the future? All this talk about hope, people have turned it to say, it's not a new, it's a revived hardship. They are moving from one hardship to worse hardship that they are facing now. And it's very clear. And I have not seen the solution. Most of the things that they have spoken about are no solution.
Dr. Bugaje,
they don't seem to have even the idea of exactly where to go.
Look at it, and the president will say, look, we're making some policies that will cause some hardship. It will take some time, but we are turning things around. Can we give him a benefit of the doubt that things, according to the words of the president, maybe things can turn around?
Sheun, these things, in the 21st century, governance is a corporate scientific business. It's not something mystical. Where are the figures? Bring out the figures, do the projections. This is how the world is run today, right? Do we know how much food we are producing at the moment? We should. Do we know how much petrol we are selling? We should. Did we know how much revenue we're expecting? What are our bills? How do we solve this? How the figures should be able to be rolled out today. But you keep speaking in general terms with nothing specific, and things are worsening. Even the policy itself of removing subsidy, you should not announce this policy or start this policy without an arrangement. For example, where is the subsidy that we have recovered after removal? How much is it? Where do you want to apply it? From what we know, there are 4 areas that you can apply these subsidies that can ease life for the ordinary person. One is food. Second, transportation, health, and education. How much of these amount that has been recovered, from the subsidy? We don't even know the figure, and we don't know where it is. And nobody is talking in terms of facts and figures. They're just talking in very general terms, very, very ambiguous, and nothing specific.
Nothing in the activities of this government do you think is in the right direction? Do you? Do you see any of their actions or policies in the right direction?
At the moment, the most important thing is hunger and insecurity. In the hierarchy of human needs, human life comes first. And I've not seen anything done. Of course, we see the National Assembly discussing with the security chiefs and passing a vote of confidence. Isn't that an insult to this country? After all that we know that is happening, every day people are being killed. More places are being deserted. More people are leaving their homes and languishing on the streets. And we are passing a vote of confidence to these people. What have they done? What are the metrics? How do you measure performance? I mean, this is an insult. And that is why I said some of these people don't seem to know exactly what is happening. If they do, they will not say so.
There are those who will say the action of the president, and let's be realistic. The indices were there that anyone who took over power from Muhammadu Buhari was going to face an uphill task in putting this country together, in firming it up as a unit, and also fixing the economic and insecurity issues that we'll face. There are no doubt that the angelest of the angels will have to face an uphill task in fixing this country. But the promises that we got from each and everyone that wanted to be president gave some kind of hope that there is competition of ideas. Now the president, Bola Tinubu, is in office, and there are those who believe that Atiku said he was going to remove subsidy. Peter Obi said he was going to remove subsidy, likewise some others. Now, Tinubu has done that. There are those who will say these are ideas that were being preached, shown by all of these candidates. I was in that sense. Those who believe that there was a far-reaching criminal enterprise within the oil and gas sector, that removing subsidy was a brilliant idea, don't you think?
It was a good idea, but wait. You have to look at the consequences. What have you planned to do with that money that you are now going to gain by removing subsidy? Where are you going to channel it? Because you know, the moment you remove subsidy, prices are going to go up. The poor man is going to lose his purchasing power. And people will not be able to go to hospitals. People will not be able to take their children to school. People will not be able to eat. Small criminal activities in the society will rise up. So what are you doing to do that? That is why I said governance is a corporate scientific business.
So you don't think the President Tinubu contemplated these consequences?
They are not ready at all. They thought perhaps it's a tea party. Because if you are going to have to do that, I agree, it's a good idea because a lot of it is fraud. But wait, how do you now address the consequences of your own decision? And they are now themselves surprised by the consequences of their own decision.
So you think that singular action and statement caused all of these problems?
Yes, it did. But let me put it more in perspective. You see, when you are going to run a government, and he must have, he has run his state government for some time, you would know that anytime there are processes in policy making and policy implementation, You don't just stand up and announce a policy without a thorough check of what are the consequences and how are you going to address the consequences.
So it was a disaster from day one.
So it appears that he did not know exactly what the consequences were. He just went ahead, which is a very reckless thing to do. In any case, now that he has done it, I asked the question, where is the amount that we are saving from the removal of subsidy? Where is it going? Right? And because I have been 4 years in the executive arm of government, at the top level in the presidency, where all the problems are brought, right, and put on the table. I have been in the legislature. I have run, a party as national secretary. So I have an idea. And I can tell you exactly when a government comes, I can see what is it that they are doing that is likely to address. From that perspective, I have not seen any preparation.
What do you think that because we are in a dire situation, now we are seeing protests every day on the street.
I think was announced. I reached out to my former chairman and said, Chairman, sir, I can see a lot of problems here. And this country is going to be soon in very big soup. I'm not sure if those who are in government really understand it. He said, what can we do? I said, let me give you my thoughts. And I went into research just to find out what is available. And I discovered in 2021, a government document, a policy document, Nigeria's program for pathways to the food system, which is a United Nations thing done following the COVID. Because when COVID came, there were a lot of studies to show how can we recover from the COVID. And there were programs, lined up. And these things are basically saying, how do you make the food system secure? How do you improve in the productivity? And how do you make sure that these things are arranged in such a way that food would be safe, good food would be cheap and available. And all the things that they have said is exactly what we have not done. Now, what struck me is that it does not appear that those people who are in this government are even aware of this document. It's a government document. It's a government policy. So I have a copy if they don't have. But Bugaje, nobody, in all the people who have been talking, I've not seen anybody make a reference to any of such
these protests, right? Happen in Niger State, now happening in your state. Is this a coming anarchy that we're facing?
Of course, that's the point. The point is that I've not seen anything that, when you hear the ministers speak, when you hear government officials speak, they do not even have an idea of exactly what to do. Now, this is the danger. We have a huge problem in our hands. Government is busy sharing money, looting the treasury, enjoying themselves, running around to France and other places, and there is no, it doesn't even appear that there's anybody in charge.
Let's borrow wisdom from you. If there is one thing to do, and the president perhaps watching you tonight, to fix this problem, where do we start from? It's an urgent need.
There are three things.
Okay.
When he spoke about strategic reserves, from what I know, I don't know if they have told him the truth. We don't have strategic reserves. Almost all the silos that you see have been rented out.
The president has said 1,002
there is no
tons
food.
Of grains should be released.
There is no food.
Really?
What they are likely to do is to quickly go to the market to mop up what is available. And that's going to put
lie to the president.
The demand and supply equation will make the food situation for the ordinary person worse.
Could they have lied to the president? Because the president spoke as though the storage is there.
Sheun, I was in the National Assembly. I was in the Finance Committee for 4 years. We never got to know exactly what this country makes from oil. And up till today, I understand we still don't have the figures. There was a time, a particular budget year, that we brought in the Revenue Mobilization and the Revenue Mobilization Commission. We brought in the CBN. We brought in the NNPC. We brought in the CAS. All the financial institutions. We put them in one room. We said, we will not leave you go until you give us one figure. Because amongst them, nobody has, they don't even agree in the figures. Now, I'm just saying, this is the country we have been running. So even the figures that they are giving for agriculture, when you actually do a check, and I will ask you, a journalist, to really go to the Ministry of Agriculture. There is a department on strategic reserves, and there is a head of that. Let him take you around and let you count and see how many metric tons are there, whether they meet up with the president.
So you were mentioning those things that need to be done. We need to wrap up in 6 seconds.
One, we need to do the food, the food system. Now, if you take a census of what we have, you have to find a way of subsidizing, the food directly,
from the farmers.
Yeah. Not in the form of palliatives. These politicians don't read. They have no idea of how to run. All the ideas is just about how do they do budget and steal and loot the treasury. And that's where we are, Dr.